So I figured that something like this would happen eventually, but I thought that if I was optimistic enough, it wouldn't. I mean, that's just me trying to be as positive as I possibly can be, but then I forget the world that we live in and how crazy things have gotten. Every single day something new sprouts, and it's like, well, maybe 10 years ago I would have been surprised, but now I'm not, and I can just put it in the category of another outlandish thing that is taking place in the world that we live in. USA Boxing has now allowed transgender women, so I think that's men who turn into women, to fight biological women in the sport of boxing. And I don't even have to tell you why that's such a bad idea. I feel like it's very self-explanatory.
No, 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 no! No. Oh!
It's in line with why someone like me can't go up to a woman and hit her, and then everyone like give me a bunch of money, give me a title, and throw a parade. All right. But that's not even half of the craziness when it comes to this situation. They have listed out a list of conditions that you must, I guess, adhere to constitute that you, as a male turning into a female, are allowed to fight a woman. As if any of these things would reverse your biology to such a degree that would make it okay for you to get in the ring and bang with a woman. The first condition is that the boxer must identify as a female and complete gender reassignment surgery. The second is that the fighter must undergo quarterly hormone testing and give the organization documentation of hormone levels for a minimum of 4 years. And then the last one is that the fighter's testosterone level has to be below 5 nanomoles per liter 48 months before their first fight against a biological woman. The fighter's testosterone level must remain below 5 through their eligibility to compete against biological females, and the conditions will be monitored and tested at the fighter's expense with a 12-month suspension for failing to meet the standards. Now, I understand that everyone in the world now wants to be different, do different things, be progressive, step outside the bounds of what is normal. But things like combat sports are already very dangerous. That's not my opinion, and it's not subjective. That is one of the more objective truths on the planet. So when you look at combat sports, they not only divide it by gender, but also weight class. So they split things up as much as possible in the name of safety when it comes to beating the hell out of another human being. So these great lengths that they're going to try to validate a biological male who transitions to a female in the sense that they are on the same scale as a biological female enough to compete in a boxing match is crazy. And the reason I say that is because this has already been done in mixed martial arts. There was this guy, a military guy, who transitioned to a female and fought a biological female, and although wasn't better technically, just had the brute dominance to be able to walk through a bunch of shots and ultimately won the fight.
Just a ton of activity, a volume of punches. McLaughlin has to...
Straight ran into that left. It's almost like if you're walking into a pocket.
McLaughlin coming up big, and now Provost has to survive. A lot of punishments, the knees cut Provost, and now
might have
deep, and the tap. Alana McLaughlin victorious in her MMA debut. She did.
That was a game plan, and it worked to her advantage. Kudos to Celine, she took the fight. Kudos to Alana. Right now, I'm sure a lot of teenagers, adults are emotional.
Yes, victory for the trans community.
Now, imagine someone with actual skills who yesterday was someone who was looked like me or had the same parts as me, and then the next day they're basically going to town on someone who has been female from birth. It's absolutely crazy, but what this shows is the power of a protected class, right? For somebody who looks like me, I'm an African American. I'm a part of a protected class. So I have the freedom essentially to kind of do some pretty heinous things to other groups of people. But because I'm black and because of my history of oppression and X, Y, and Z, well, people won't scrutinize me for it. People won't penalize me for it or punish me for it. It is not frowned upon for me to do so simply because I am black. And that's the exact same situation here. I've said this before. It's your life. You do whatever it is that you want to do. At the same time, I reserve the right to point out when something is completely nuts like this. Because, once again, if I were to hit a woman, people would not marvel at that because I am a man, right? But if I identify as a woman and then I adhere to all of these conditions and then I go out and I do the exact same thing, not only will people celebrate me, but they will pay me to do so. And the only way that that's possible is if you're a part of a protected class, which is very unfortunate because that's not even what protected classes should be used for, right? The idea is that you identify a community that is actively being oppressed or attacked in any way, shape, or form that is deemed unjust at such a large scale that that class needs to be protected, and then you enact laws and or policies to deter those attacks from being brought forth to that community. What it's not supposed to be is a black card that grants you immunity to move however it is that you want to in life because you are a part of that class. It's like being a part of some exclusive club and your admission to it is your skin color, your gender identification, your sexual orientation, just a bunch of stuff. And some of them can be used as loopholes because if you're white, there's no way, shape, or form that anyone's going to deem you as part of a protected class. But if you identify as a different gender or a different orientation or some type of animal or a building or some type of object or anything like that, well, now you're a part of that group because it's been deemed that they have been oppressed. Something like this is nuts, but like I said, you do what you want, but just understand that you have to lay in the bet that you make. So if one day you wake up and you feel as though you're in the wrong body or you're the wrong identity and you want to change something, well, I mean, if you have the resources to do it, I mean, it's your life, so you do whatever it is that you want. But social movements, and this applies to social movements regarding gender and sex, this applies to social movements that involve race. It doesn't matter what it is. These social movements aren't created, at least in my opinion, to inspire conformity. No, it's to bring about equal rights, right? As much as you possibly can get to that point, because not everything is going to be equal across the board, but as much as you can get, that's what they're for, right? But people aren't required to respect you and whatever it is that you do. They're not required to indulge in whatever reality you want to be true. They're not required to conform to your lifestyle. But if you look in other countries, like, people are beginning to be criminally punished for not affirming certain people and whatever it is that they want to be, despite the fact that that's not the point of a social movement, because at the baseline, people want to be equal under law. That's it. Everything else is just a byproduct of you being alive. So for myself, I don't want to be barred from going to a specific school or sitting in a certain restaurant because I'm black. But that also doesn't mean that every single white person on the planet has to like me. I mean, it would be nice if everybody liked everybody, but that's not what it is for. So therefore, I don't concern myself with it, and I don't try to make it a reality. I just do me, and if you mess with me, then that's cool. If you don't, then it is what it is. In this situation, it's crazy how much people are bending to like progressive mobs who want the world to be a certain way, but it's not enough just to be able to do whatever it is that you want. It's no, I want everyone else to buy into whatever it is that I'm doing. And if you don't, I have every single name in the book, every ism, every phobia that I could call you, that I could label you, that I could show to your employer, that I could use to report your account, that I can do all of these things to go after you with. It's crazy, but that's the world that we live in. So the fact that it's seeped into something like combat sports, one of the most dangerous things on the planet, you're beating the crap out of someone else. And in some of the sports, you're not even using gloves. So the fact that this is the direction the world is going is crazy. And this should have nothing to do with anyone's political ideology or your stance on the rest of life as a whole. I thought it was just a general consensus that if I went like that to a woman, that's not okay. So the fact that we're creating loopholes to make that acceptable is wild to me. But unfortunately, experience is the best teacher in some situations. So God forbid, hopefully it doesn't happen. But when one of these fights takes place, and if something goes down, I mean, then at that point, it would honestly just probably piss me off even more, because it's like, well, what did you expect? I'm not sure what USA Boxing and other organizations who pull this crap expect to gain from this other than social brownie points. But at the end of the day, is it worth it if you're setting these women up to get hit by what to them might feel like a overhand right from Mike Tyson? So trust to believe that something like this is just not okay, because this is not even the place or the space, the area to pull something like this in. If you want to go and try it in some other realm or whatever, it is what it is. I still think it's kind of weird, especially because of how they're doing it. Every single time I see something like this, it's, oh, well, this man can transition into a woman and then compete in these female spaces. But I haven't seen the petition for a woman to switch and then go into the boxing ring with guys, or for a WNBA player to go to the NBA to play with the men, or for a woman to go and try to play in the NFL. All of these are very improbable, but it just seems like it's one-sided purposefully. And it's something I pointed out before, which to me, it seems like there are a lot of men out there who probably don't even feel confused with their gender identity or sexual orientation. They just feel incompetent as men and believe that they can fare better in a female space. That's nuts. Because number one, if you're incompetent, just get better. And then number two, if a white person paints their face a darker color or even gets a freaking suntan, everyone's screaming blackface. And now we got to go light the world on fire because black people have been disrespected. But a man or male, whichever word you want to use, transitions into a female and then puts on women's clothes, does their makeup, gets their genitals chopped off, and then get shot up with a bunch of hormones, and then they go and compete in the boxing ring with these women, or the MMA cage with these women, or whatever. Well, that's justified. I do not understand where the difference lies, right? I don't get it, but that's where we're at. And it's scary, and it's weird, and it creates a lot of uncertainty in the world of how to move, because at this point it's like, well, I don't even know what's happening anymore. I believe things like this help to try to find it out, figure it out, but I guess only time will tell. I just hope that it doesn't take seeing a woman get beat up so bad by a man, not even because he's better than her or he turned into a she is better than her, but it's just physically much more capable than anybody that person will get in the ring with after transitioning. Not a diss, that's not a hate, or it's not going after a certain group of people. That's just a biological fact that does not need to be ignored, especially when you're talking about combat sports, right? I understand the world that we live in, but this is not the type of thing to test this on. It's just not. What I do know is that the odds on that fight, regardless of who it involves, is going to be astronomically crazy. The craziest I've ever seen in my freaking life, just based off of sheer biology alone. It's unfortunate that we've gotten to this place, but if you're down by it financially, that might be a lot. So I don't even know how to rationalize something like this, because you can't, but I guess this is the country we live in. So welcome to America.